All right, guys, this is Brian with the Arms Guide, and I'm sitting here with Chris and Patrick from the Felt Recoil Podcast. You might not have heard of them, but they're kind of a big deal. So if you haven't heard of them, go check it out right now. The podcast is awesome. I know they're a big deal because I was on the podcast.
You made it a big deal.
No.
We were not a big deal.
No.
And then everybody said, well, wait, the Brian Norris?
The Brian Norris. Like Chuck's nephew? What? No, not Chuck's nephew. But anyway, so they're great guys, and I've known Chris. He outed me. I've known Chris for a long time, but then we've been estranged for some years.
Yeah, we had a falling out in 8th grade.
His parents were the catalyst for that. They took him to another city.
Moved me down to Greenville, South Carolina.
He breathed a sigh of relief.
That's right.
And yet he could not get rid of this redheaded guy that's like stuck. So somehow I've circled back around.
Gingers are sticky people.
Yeah, they are. You know,
Notoriously true.
We have no soul, and we don't care what you think about us. So we just keep on coming. Patrick, on the other hand, is a quality individual. So, what we want to do
Everybody's got to be something.
That's right. So what we want to do is hear as much as we possibly can about the Felt Recoil Podcast and what they think, unscripted, what they think of what's happening here at the NRA show.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Second, Felt Recoil Podcast is kind of a lifestyle conversation for anybody that enjoys the outdoors, a little bit of politics, and if you hate pop culture, you'll really fit in. That's kind of what we tend to do. Cover a little bit of national news every week, and then something within our locality, and then whatever's happening in the gun world, outdoor lifestyle. But mainly just a lot of opinion, a lot of lifestyle talk. If something happens throughout the day, we did a podcast last night after we spent a day here in Atlanta, and talked about the mystery of anyone who would ever aspire to live in this town because it's terrible. And
so he's here to win friends and influence people.
Maybe.
One thing you need to know about Chris is he actually brags about his ability to, like, what do you call that online, where you stalk people, you troll people. Like he's trying to refine trolling into an art form. Like, so except he thinks that's a positive thing.
Except that maybe the troll lives in my head. I don't go find other people. I just say what I say. So let me tell you why I feel this way about Atlanta. First of all, every highway here has exploded.
You're supposed to be talking over him back here. Like, my whole goal is for you to not know.
This is like the 5th largest town in the country, right? And every highway here has exploded. So something is obviously wrong in upper management. And it takes us 9 hours on an hour and a half drive. And I'm defending the point about Atlanta.
Here is that our podcast started with this giant, what could be a giant audience. And every week, Chris manages to narrow the field.
He's trying to get down to his target audience.
That's right, man.
That's right.
We can see some analytics, and the percentage of women is just getting so small it's not even funny.
Well, I could have told you that before you started.
A little something to do with Chris here.
No,
that's right.
Yeah.
Was I supposed to, we can
about
start
Atlanta.
over.
Go
Atlanta
ahead.
is the city of flowers, even though it smells like sewage everywhere. You want me to start that way?
No.
Okay.
I want you to be yourself. I'm just trying to be myself.
I'm messing a little bit, but we did have quite an adventure in Atlanta. It is pretty. Like, there is something to all the big buildings and this big Ferris wheel right across the street from us. But we definitely
like Ferris wheels, do you?
And yeah, absolutely. It takes me back to a childhood where I wasn't such a jerk.
You're not a jerk. You just haven't found the non-jerky part yet.
So I'm hanging out with you.
That's right.
We'll get in there. We'll find the chewy center.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you want to talk more NRA show, the thing to see, I think, is the FN 509 and the Hudson H9. Those would be the two, I think.
You're stuck on that Hudson thing.
I am. Well, and I'll tell you.
Because the American thing?
Well, because it's American, but mainly because it's actually innovative.
Yeah.
I have this thing where firearms companies tend to go, we have a new gun, but it's the same gun, but it's blue, it's the same gun, but it's green, or whatever they've done that makes it a new gun.
Right.
Like, that's not a new gun. That's an idea you have to change what already, to tweak what you already have.
Well, I know from the conversations on the backside of some of those things that's actually just, it starts with marketing rather than start with an idea of product innovation. It says,
well,
who do we want to reach? So let's reverse engineer that rather than what do we want to do. And it's just backwards thinking.
And that's exactly what they did with the Hudson.
Yeah.
It really started with just a design on a piece of paper.
What do I want to
and
shoot?
Went from there.
Yeah.
And it was really, the idea came from people who don't know anything about making a firearm, and it went through several iterations before they actually hired a firearms engineer to get involved and sort of fine tune some of those things to make it a quality gun.
We just interviewed right over there. We just interviewed Damon Young with SSVI. That's what I like about his trigger so much, the tier trigger. If you're a Glock person, you need to check out his trigger, because he just said, forget what do I want to shoot?
Right.
And it's a good trigger.
We talked yesterday with the Hudsons over at their booth, and we were talking with Lauren. So if you don't know, it's Cy and Lauren Hudson. Okay, and they started the company.
You guys are tight, right?
I was trying to not look like a
Super
stalker.
stalky.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I bet they like you, though. I mean, you're their kind of people.
I think so. I hope so. Let's hang out.
They're our kind of people,
Let's hang out, all of us. Dinner at my place. So, here's the point. The conversation I had with her yesterday was that the beauty of that handgun is you truly started with a clean slate. 1911 shooters, they decided it could be better, and then they looked at the physics of it and the actual science of it, and they said, well, how do we design a system where you have more control and the gun shoots flatter? And that's what they did. They went to a drawing board that was blank. They didn't go back to a drawing board, because that drawing board has a pre-existing notion of what should be. So they took this blank slate and said, okay, what should be here? And they've built to that. And they took, I think they're in year 3 or 4 now of development, and now it's coming out at the end of June. They say they'll be shipping. And so it's like, here's something that is actually innovative and new and something nobody has done before. And that's what gets me excited.
And you've shot one, right?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, that's why I'm buttering them up so much.
I haven't shot one yet.
Yeah. And they're going to be like $1,200 on the shelf.
You're going to buy one.
So, I'm pretty sure. I'll sell a couple of guns I already have and try and offset that cost.
So can I come shoot yours? And
absolutely. All day long.
Yeah, okay.
All day long. I'll come to you.
No, it's all right. I like.
You came to me once already for the podcast, so I'll come to you.
But you brought the targets up my way, so we're just even right now.
Good. I want you to owe me.
All right.
And then I won't let you forget about it.
Wow.
No, he's serious.
You see, you forget my other. Never mind.
I'm the guy from Seinfeld. Soup's not a meal. Soup's not a meal. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
All right, that's me.
Yeah, I'm a Seinfeld guy. Okay, so there's something else I was going to ask you about. But before we get there, Patrick, you need to say something, man.
It's hard. You've met this guy.
Well, no, I have, but it's not hard.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Patrick,
Tell me about yourself, man, because you're a big part of this Felt Recoil podcast phenomenon.
Wow, that was generous.
Yeah, overly.
You guys are a big deal, right?
We're trying to be.
I mean, if you're not, I'm just walking.
I think. Well, go ahead, Patrick. Talk about you.
Well, I don't like to talk about me.
Okay, we'll talk about the Felt Recoil podcast then.
Well,
why do you think somebody should listen to it, or should my wife listen to it? Grow that back up.
Wow, that's going to be tough.
I hope my wife doesn't listen to it.
Yeah, okay.
Like I said, ladies already don't like it. Okay. So, but I think to add on to what Chris was saying about the show, it's very conversational. When we have guys on the show, it's not so much an interview format as it is just a conversation. We don't really come in with a script of a bunch of questions necessarily. We'd rather it be a natural conversation, and if it goes in one certain direction, we just let it go in that way and try to get as much of it as we can out of somebody.
Yeah, that's cool. What do you like to do? How did you get involved in shooting sports or whatever?
I've been shooting guns since I was about 9 years old. I grew up hunting in the middle of South Carolina. Didn't really get into handguns until I was a little bit older, but now I'm super big into handguns. I prefer shooting those over just about anything else, and I think that's because it's a little more of a challenge for me. So I like shooting rifles and shotguns, but handguns are kind of where my butter's bred these days.
Okay. Well, what did you grow up hunting?
Deer, turkey, dove, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
If you can find it and kill it in South Carolina, I was usually getting.
You ever notice how like dove are they're like fighter jets? They're not real animals. They fly crazy. They're erratic. They're like, he's coming for me. He's coming for me. Anyway, you can hear the Top Gun thing. They say everything twice. Doves say everything twice. It's for sure scientific fact.
Yeah.
They learned it from Tom Cruise. That
Highway
is
to
absolutely,
the Danger Zone.
That's exactly they do. They're listening to Highway to the Danger Zone. They say everything twice during dove season. I don't know how they are the rest of the time, but I did some dove hunting, and that's what I noticed. That's how they discourse.
They were inverted.
Yeah.
Inverted.
And they do flip the bird, but it's a whole different thing.
Bad humor. I like it.
Okay.
They flipped the bird.
But that's just their cousin. That's a bird. Dad jokes. That's all I've got. I don't have any real jokes that are actually funny. Okay.
I love it.
Okay, so what's the next thing for the Felt Recoil podcast?
So I'd say the YouTube channel, we're starting to grow that. That's kind of what prompted us to come here. Okay. Obviously, we'd probably come here anyway because it's real close to home for us, a couple-hour drive.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that you're just most likely to die in Atlanta. Science. But also, we're trying to grow the video side of everything. The thing about the firearms community that I love is everybody is so friendly to each other, like within the ranks, you know. Maybe you're laughing, but so far we have found that
to each other.
When you
I'm just waiting to see what's happening after. It's like it sounds like you loaded, maybe like a setup.
So everything's a setup. I'll get there. Okay. But we were here. We got to sit down with FN. We talked to a bigwig at Springfield. You walk up to the CZ booth, and everybody's so inviting and welcoming, and they don't know you, and they have no reason to spend time with you. And you know that you're the 1001 guy to come up that day and go, hey, will you talk on camera with me? So you have to learn to differentiate yourself and give them a different dynamic when they deal with you. But it's just... And let me say one more thing about just the NRA in general that I think speaks volumes about who we are as a country. So we were here yesterday, we met all these very important people, and the point I was making there was how welcoming and inviting and generous with their time they've all been, which is great. It's just great. And even when
it's a scriptural thing, no respecter of persons, right?
Yeah.
I actually see that play out more in this setting sometimes than I do in other settings where it should happen.
You never know who you're dealing with and what they could possibly do for you later.
Right.
Like if you want to be selfish about it, you can look at it that way and go, if I'm nice to this person, well, in return, maybe one day if I need something, they'll help in return.
And I don't know how the motivation plays out, but whatever your motivation is, you're right, it does work better that way.
Yeah. Coolest moment for me yesterday, and not because I'm a Trump guy, because
we've heard the podcast.
You've heard, okay. But I support him. I want him to succeed. I hated Hillary, don't get me wrong. But Trump wasn't my guy, but now he's the president, and that's great. I'm happy for him. And I met his son yesterday and shook his hand. Trump Jr. was here walking the floor. Shook his hand, said, hey, thanks for what you guys are doing. You know, all the best, much success to you. He said, really appreciate it, and kept walking. And I realized I just walked up with armed security around the son of the leader of the free world, shook his hand and met him. And I was armed as well. Like, I'm carrying a gun. There's guys around him open carrying guns because they live here in Georgia. Yeah. And I thought, maybe it seems melodramatic, but what a beautiful thing that you're proving every point wrong from all the anti-gunners who, all these people, it's be the Wild West, and what do you do when somebody important is in the room, or blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And here we are peacefully gathered. Yeah. I met him, shook his hand, hey, thanks for what you're doing. And it was like... how surreal that felt for a minute. I don't know.
I'd love to see it go even another step further. I understand why they have to do it, and it's totally on the floor. You're absolutely right. If you happen to go to the ILA, the actual press conference side of things, when you do that, you kind of go through a TSA kind of thing.
Sure.
So, which is understandable. The leader of the free world is standing there. You know, there are people that would try to assassinate him, but you pretty much, you can't even have a Coke with you. You know, forget about a gun.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I think that in this environment, actually, even that press conference would be tremendously safe for.
Oh, absolutely. Have you noticed who's not here?
Yeah.
Who's not here in Atlanta right now? Those masked, spoiled children from Berkeley, Seattle, and Portland are not here. And why is that?
Well,
is it because it's a group of people ready and trained to defend themselves and not be bullied and pushed around? I believe it is. Like, Trump was here yesterday, and I didn't see any kids in black masks running through the streets trying to intimidate me. But they're doing it everywhere else where you can't defend yourself.
Very small group of protesters outside, maybe less than 150 people. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
But they get tired and go home.
They weren't there very long, But in contrast, I wrote a thing about the Hope of America this morning. That I'm fully convinced. I stopped at there's a little booth in the corner here with I'm not even going to mention the company, but his family-owned company. They do really good business. They have government contracts. They're doing well. The son, who's a high school junior or senior, named David, he's standing there working his family business, repping right alongside of him, looks you in the eye, man, just shakes your hand, tells you all the information you want, but also stop and talk to him on a personal level. He's ready to tell you about his goals, his aspirations, his dreams that are separate from his family business, wanting to make custom knives and do engineering and all this stuff. I mean, squared away kid. He's already gotten a place in college. It's just an amazing thing that he was representative of a number of young American men and women throughout here, and I'm like, that generation, there we go. You think there are all these kids out protesting,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But there are a group of people that are rising up, growing right alongside of them that are, I can be hopeful about.
And they're taught the golden rule, and that you have to outwork everyone around you to succeed.
He was working his tail off.
Right, and that's the difference.
And his family would be considered from a financial level, I'm sure, a family of privilege.
Sure.
But
they earned.
You can have that and not raise
I'm just
bratty
saying,
children.
But he was not acting as though stereotypically someone would think a privileged person would act. He was working his butt off.
I hear you.
And I like, if my son, who's 3 years old, if he's looking, men in the eye and having that kind of conversation when, he's 17, 18, 19 years old, and I'll be stoked.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I liked about the NRA, and I mean, it sounds like it's right in step with what you're like.
Yeah,
so
we love it. So far, just a really good time.
Anything else you guys want to say about Felt Recoil, and maybe how much you love your wives, or whatever you want to talk about?
Love our wives. I would definitely invite anybody that hasn't listened to just visit feltrecoilshow.com. You can find everything there. Our YouTube channel's there. The podcast link is there. But yeah, just feltrecoilshow.com. And if you hate us, we'd love to hear about it. So.
Yeah. And I've been tongue-in-cheek throughout this whole thing, but in all sincerity, I do encourage you to check it out, and I do think that you guys are going to do really well.
Thank you, man.
I really do. You're going to do. I can't talk.
If I could give an overall of the tenor, I would suggest that we are very tongue-in-cheek a lot, and we're goofy. And I tell Patrick a lot, I know I'm overly goofy, but there's so much bad in the world that if you were to slow down and let that bring you down, there's really nothing for you to enjoy about life.
Sure.
So you kind of have to shrug things off, make jokes, have a good time, be serious when you got to be serious. But for the most part, we stay pretty laid back. We
try to keep it real positive too.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
As long as you keep it real, man, I'm good with it.
Yeah, be genuine, and everybody, people can smell when you're not being genuine with them. If you lie to somebody, you put on a facade. Right. I think they get it. And so one of our goals, like Patrick just said, is to just always be genuine and look for the positive. There's no need to be so negative. Every gun review out there, I feel sometimes, is a rush to find what's wrong first.
Yeah.
You know that because you do it on a professional level, but you know.
I wouldn't call what I do professional.
More professional than us, I promise you that. But so our point has been just be part of the positive crowd. There's plenty of positive people out there as well that just all their reviews are just here's the fun of shooting, and that's the side we want to be on.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
guys.
man. Appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Check it out. Good to see you too.
Glad we ran into you.
I'll absolutely come hang out in Greenville sometime.
Please.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll bring that Hudson up to Charlotte, I promise.